once again, thanks for being with us to discuss the issue of tackling European dependencies in research. We have with us top specialists on that issue. Meredith Whittaker, President of Signal Foundation. Mona Nemer, genetist and Chief Science Advisor to the Government of Canada. Christophe Périllat. Sorry, I've got lost in my notes. Christophe Périllat, CEO of Valeo. Yasmine Belkaid, who is a leading immunologist and president of Institut Pasteur. Mark Thomson, the new Director General of CERN. And finally, Christophe Fouquet, who is the CEO of ASML, world's leading supplier of lithography system for semiconductor manufacturing. So, the key question is how to tackle European dependencies in research. We are, for the moment, dependent in many areas, and we have to cope with the challenge to strengthen our resilience, but also to develop our competitiveness in key technologies. Just as an example, in the space sector, we rely on non-European launch services and satellites. We, Poland, we are just sending in few days our Polish astronaut within the European Space Agency mission, but we are sending him from Florida. So this poses risks to our autonomy with the question to the access to space and critical infrastructure. Another important issue is our dependence on foreign semiconductors, which may threaten Europe's technological sovereignty and supply chain security, because semiconductors are vital for our industries ranging from automotive to defense. Another area is, of course, the sector of artificial intelligence, where we rely on external technologies, on external data. This is a question of our values, the ethical questions related to AI. This is the question of privacy, but this is also the question of quality of data we are using. As they say, garbage in, garbage out. We don't want this in the AI, especially when we use AI in science. So for all these reasons, we need to investigate and develop our own capabilities in these areas so that we can enhance our strategic autonomy, drive economic growth, and safeguard our technological future. So, after this short introduction, I would like to ask you some questions on these issues, starting from Meredith Whittaker. Given your work on privacy and ethical tech, could you tell us how can Europe build digital infrastructures, especially in AI, digital infrastructures that are truly independent and aligned with democratic values? How we can build them without relying on the non-European platforms or datasets?
you. Thank you for this question. I have brief remarks prepared. This convening couldn't be more important, so I'm very grateful that it's happening. Independent research is the bedrock of democracy, and it's imperative that we preserve it. So the question of how to build better, different, and more rights-preserving tech has animated my career, and to answer it, I need to broaden the aperture. I don't think it's a secret that the tech industry is highly concentrated and that it's been shaped by business models and a set of incentives that promote monopoly, scale, and the mass collection and consolidation of data while ceding significant control over our world to the firms that develop and maintain the infrastructures, platforms, and services that are now the nervous system of daily life globally. I'm not a politician or a political player. I'm a tech executive and a scholar, and I've spent nearly 20 years founding, building, and interrogating tech and the tech industry. Right now, I'm honored to lead Signal, which is the world's only large-scale, commercial, truly private communications platform. This position gives me a really rare experience in what it actually means to actively, daily go against the grain of this dominant tech paradigm. And to do this as a nonprofit, developing open source technology that preserves fundamental rights, a project that requires fundamental research across cryptography, where France has huge strengths, and computer science. This enables us to rewrite the tech stack for privacy in an ecosystem where money is made by collecting and monetizing data. Now, this experience leads me to one clear conclusion. If we want better tech, we need to rewrite the script. The current model of entrenched, centralized, bigger is better tech cannot be viewed by anyone, whatever the jurisdiction or domain, as a goal to pursue. This model is harmful. We know and see that. And beyond that, this is not a race that can be won, frankly. Monopoly is already established in the hands of a handful of firms at global scale. These firms are setting norms and standards and shaping the communities of practice in tech and the social and professional ecosystems around these. This is not simply competitive advantage. This is a cemented foundation that needs to be rooted out if we are to rebuild. So instead of wishful thinking or copycat proposals, we need the boldness to set new goals and play by new rules, to pursue these with clear-eyed inquiry and a willingness to shape a different kind of tech, a different tech ecosystem. We need, for instance, small AI models, which, as Gail Valquois and Sasha Lucioni and I show in a recent paper, actually work better in many domains and undercut this concentrated paradigm. We need a focus on methodologically rigorous and robust data. It is frankly absurd that we are treating data collected by a handful of companies in service of ads and profiling as the raw material of intelligence. We can do better, and this is a huge domain for innovation. We need applied cryptographic research. I'm in a country with more field medalists than any other that really excels in cryptography. So let's supercharge this. Let's build for privacy, not just privacy branded. Let's focus on socio-technical research that helps us understand whether the hype-filled proclamations about tech's efficacy are vapor, and make meaningful assessments about tech's abilities. Does it work for us, for our future, or not? And we need decentralized protocols and processes that don't just decentralize at the infrastructure layer, but also at the governance and control layer. Hello. This also means we need significant research and experimentation around governance. How can we actually democratically govern technology so it's accountable to those it's purported to serve at the base layer? So these questions and many more like them move against the grain. They move against incentives in academia and industrial research, where doing much of what is now called computer science research is no longer possible without access and funding granted by industry. Indeed, honest questioning and research is always a challenge to the status quo. And that's why we need to nurture and protect it. Asking questions that could undermine old paradigms and practices is risky. Even more risky is heeding the answers when doing so challenges power structures and hierarchies. Our questions, our research, our investment in tech needs to start by asking where and how tech can support a future worth living. From here, we need to have the deep courage to follow this inquiry wherever the path leads. Whoever's sacred cows our conclusions topple. This is the formula for real, risky, exuberant innovation in tech, in pursuit of tech that preserves a world of freedom and democracy. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this dense bullets presentation. Now I would like to ask Mona Nemer, what are the most effective levers to achieve our goals? Public investment, regulations, infrastructure, or maybe talent development?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to start by answering very shortly, saying all of them. Mais tout d'abord, j'aimerais saluer l'engagement renouvelé de la France et de l'Union européenne envers la science, la recherche et la liberté académique. L'Europe, on l'a entendu, a longtemps été la puissance scientifique mondiale. De fait, vous vous souvenez tous que jusqu'à la moitié du siècle dernier, la majorité des articles scientifiques étaient publiés en français, en allemand, russe et anglais. Et ce n'est qu'après la Deuxième Guerre mondiale, en bonne partie grâce à l'immigration européenne et d'autres plus tard, que la science en Amérique, particulièrement aux États-Unis, a pris son essor. Et comme la recherche contribue directement et indirectement à la croissance économique, il est judicieux pour tous les pays d'améliorer leur écosystème de recherche et leur autonomie. But let's remember, reducing dependency in science is not about isolationism. It's about national resilience and security. We just need to remember the COVID pandemic and how we all struggled, or some of us at least, for diagnostics, vaccines, and masks, among others, but also for supply chains essential, such as chips, semiconductors, which affected production, as you said, of many things, including cars. These supply chains can be disrupted by pandemics, but also by natural disasters, and of course, geopolitical tensions as well. Still, enhancing resilience will require international collaboration, because ensuring even some autonomy can be daunting to many of us as we consider the supply chains upstream and downstream of research and development. Such collaborations can be mutually beneficial with select trusted partners that share similar values and objectives. And if I may say a word for Canada, we share with Europe common values as well as complementary strengths that can reduce our respective science dependency. Our recent association with the Horizon Europe program will further enhance Canada-EU collaboration in research and innovation. Now, to your question on which lever is the most effective, I feel that's a little bit akin trying to determine which leg of a chair is most important. It's the combined contribution of all levers and their alignment that is critical for effectiveness. This being said, the form in which government support comes is most helpful depending on the specificity of the science and technology domains. Elements such as time from discovery to product, infrastructure need, we heard about data centers, for example, strengths of the R&D ecosystem, and of course talent must be considered. Talent is key at every stage of the R&D. In real estate, we talk about the 3 L's: location, location, location. Well, in research, it's the 3 P's: people, people, and people. So investing in attracting and retaining researchers is very wise. But direct public investment is not enough. If we look at countries that have been deliberate at strengthening their science and technology autonomy, whether South Korea, China, but also countries like Singapore, their success seems to be grounded in a good assessment of their gaps a recognition of their strengths, identification of strategic targets, and a deliberate implementation of a pragmatic plan to get there. So I turn to the eminent scientists in this audience and beyond. I invite you to consider the critical times we live in and call upon you to help decision makers understand the current state of dependence and leadership in your domain, with as much nuance as possible and without making it about your own lab or company or research and development interest. Once gaps and strengths are clear, scientists, policymakers, and industrialists can come effectively to work together to identify and align levers in key areas. And as a matter of fact, they'll be able to explain the plan to the public. And I'll close with this additional element to the question of levers, and that is the importance of public buy-in. It's clear that all four levers identified in the question are important. But in democracies, the support of citizens is essential for sustaining research and innovation systems. What we're seeing in some countries is due in part to a breakdown of public confidence in the broad value of science and specifically publicly funded science. The reasons are manifold, but it's a sober reminder that support for science cannot be taken for granted anywhere in the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One short comment on the languages, especially in the field of social sciences I do represent. This is something we feel very much, the dominance, but also our dependence on English language, scientific journals, and also English language dominated citation indexes. This hampers from time to time, especially our intra-European cooperation, because when we have one scholar from a European country going to another one, we tend to see him or her through the eyes of America-based citation indexes and English language publications, and not Polish, German, French, Dutch, and so on. This is, I think, another dependence issue we should tackle.
I completely agree, and I think that AI is actually going to help us in this, because we're going to have platforms that translate, to all languages, not only English or French, etc. So I think that's also an area of importance for scholars, researchers, but also to work with technologists.
Hopefully. Next question, Christophe Périllat. Could you tell us how can European states better coordinate with industry and public research to tackle strategic dependencies? Are we doing enough to align industrial policy, research funding, and regulatory frameworks around shared sovereignty goals?
Thank you. Thank you very much. First, happy to be with you today. Well, as a player of the automotive industry, I will answer your question using the angle of view, of course, of the automotive industry. First, to say that the European automotive industry is one of the most powerful engines of Europe. Just to remind the numbers, it's 8% of the GDP of Europe. It's more than 13 million jobs in Europe behind the automotive industry. And this automotive industry is facing what I can call a one-of-a-lifetime transformation. This transformation is ahead of us, and in fact it's two transformations at the same time. The first one is the transformation to a cleaner mobility. This is, of course, the electrification. And here we have to recognize it. Asia is the leading place, because who is leading today the battery industry? It's mainly the Chinese with CATL, with BYD. It's the Korean with LG. It's the Japanese with Panasonic. These are the leaders when it comes to the battery side. And the second major transformation in our industry is about a safer mobility, and I mean here automation of driving. And the ultimate step of automation is what we call the level 4, level 5 autonomy level, which is the robotaxi. And who is the leader today in the world for level 5 autonomy? This is North America, with some companies in the Silicon Valley, and it's again the Chinese. So, given the size of the European automotive industry, I can say at this point of time that its industry is under massive threat and that its leadership is deeply challenged and questioned. So in order to answer your question, I will try to answer it on the innovation point of view and the manufacturing point of view. First, in terms of innovation, well, there are solutions because electrification is not only about the battery cell. It's about everything beyond. It's the battery cooling, it's the electric motor, it's the charger, it's the inverter. And here you have champions in Europe, and Valeo is actually the world leader in electrification technology. And automotive driving is not just level 5, it's not just robotaxi, it's as well level 2, level 2 plus, level 2 plus plus, even level 3 autonomy. And here as well you have a champion. Valeo is a champion of autonomous driving, being the world leader in advanced driving assistance systems. So I guess if I have the honor to be in front of you, it's because at Valeo we have chosen France. We have chosen France. 80% of our research is being done in France. We are the #1 French company filing patents worldwide. We have chosen Europe as well. We have research centers in Germany, in Ireland, in Czech Republic, for instance. And the solution is about cooperation, and we are collaborating with all of you very much. We have very strong collaboration with CEA, with INRIA. We're part of the CHIP JU, the CHIP Act. I mean, we are very much collaborating with European bodies, but as well with the Fraunhofer in Germany. So the solution to be leader is to cooperate and to cooperate even more. My second point will be on manufacturing, and here it's so important for me because I've been in the industry for now 30 years. There's no innovation, and you know this very well. There's no innovation without a strong industrial base. And here I have bad news and good news. The bad news is in the last 5 years, Europe has lost 25% competitiveness versus China. 25% competitiveness. Because there has been an inflation cycle in Europe and there has not been any inflation cycle in China. And given the fact that the Chinese currency has devaluated 10% in the last 2 or 3 months, now it's around 40% competitiveness lost by Europe versus China in the last 5 years. This is absolutely dramatic. So what is the solution? Is the solution the carbon border tax? No, it's not, because it has not been designed for that. It's not designed to protect the industry. Is the solution tariffs? No, it's not tariffs. We see today the damages that tariffs are creating around the world. So what is it? And then we look at what other continents have been doing to protect their industry. Well, we looked at China. In 2015, China has launched the China Manufacturing Plan 2025 to attract the added value in China, and it worked very well. North America, US, Canada, and Mexico have created the USMCA, and they are asking the cars, when assembled in one of these 3 countries, to have 75% of the added value in this region. India has created a rule for 80% added value of the car in India. And what about Europe? Well, Europe had no rule. Europe was open. I think we've been discussing a lot with the politicians in the last months, and I would like to thank very much the French President Macron. I would like to thank the French government. I would like to thank very much the President von der Leyen. I would like to thank Commissaire Séjourné, because in the action plan for the future of the automotive industry that was released March 3rd this year, they have introduced for the first time in the action plan a European minimum content per car. It's not fully described yet, it's not precise enough yet. It will be described and put in rules during the course of this year. But this is the first time that we have this European content in a paper from Europe, and I think it's extremely good news, so thank you very much for all of you. So Europe needs very strong actions, very strong decisions, decisive decisions, and I'm absolutely sure that Europe will make these decisions. Thank you for your support.
Thank you very much for this very clear but optimist also advice. Thank you very much. Yasmine Belkaid, please tell us, given the increasing interdependence of global research and technological ecosystems, what are the most pressing actions Europe must take to reduce its strategic dependencies in critical sectors? And how can we ensure that this shift strengthens rather than isolates Europe's role in the global innovation landscape?
Thank you very much.
French people would say, are useful on a kind of political, psychological level. Do we need in science, in European science, such grand projets? Please.
Thank you very much. A great question, many great questions. It's a great pleasure to be here at this event, which I think is both important and actually the intent is really inspiring. So I'm very happy to be here. I think there are two key ingredients for globally competitive research and innovation. First are the triple Ps, the people, people, people. We have to attract and retain the best talent within Europe. That is absolutely clear. But that's not sufficient. You can't just have the people. You have to give the people the tools to do the best research and the best innovation. And that's where research infrastructure comes in. Now, research infrastructure is a very broad term. It covers what we have in our universities. But of course, what I'm going to focus on is the very big research infrastructure, really the pinnacle of the research infrastructure ecosystem that allows us to do research and innovation at the very, very highest level. It's absolutely critical. If we want to be globally competitive, we need the people, but we need the top-end research infrastructure. This is relevant for all fields of research. A lot of what I will say today focuses on physical sciences, but it's also true for biological sciences and social sciences and arts and humanities. So ultimately, to position ourselves at the forefront of research and innovation, people, research infrastructure. And it is about innovation and research. So just take one example. If we want to really understand drugs, drug discovery, structure of matter, structure of biological matter, we need big tools. We need things like synchrotron-like sources, so we can really look at the biological structure at an atomic and molecular level and start figuring out how drugs work, design drugs, highly relevant during the pandemic as well. That's relevant to research using these giant microscopes of the 21st century, but it's also relevant to industry. These facilities are used by industrial companies as well as researchers. We are actually, in Europe, in a very strong position in terms of our research infrastructure, both at the national and international level. The whole ecosystem is powerful. We have two types of research infrastructures, very broadly speaking. Actually, there are many more, obviously, but I'll break them down into two types. One is the more applied, our light sources, such as synchrotrons, neutron sources, such as the European spallation source that we're constructing in Sweden at the moment. These image matter. These are essential tools for biology, understanding advanced materials, energy materials, battery materials, quantum technology, the list goes on. So the applications are huge. So they're, in some ways, applied. Secondly are the infrastructures for fundamental science, basic science, places such as CERN, where we obviously run particle colliders, operate particle colliders, but also telescopes. As I say, we are in a strong position in Europe. What I wanted to just do in the final part until I get onto the FCC, as I have a bonus, is really
just one remark. We are supposedly running out of time, so we have to be brief.
I will be brief. I will be very brief. I wanted to just say about some of the wider impact of the research infrastructures. So places like CERN were founded on basic science. That's why we did it, following in the footsteps of Marie Curie. These are long-term investments, successful because of long-term international investment by Europe. Apart from the science, which obviously I have a huge passion for, think about the other benefits. Firstly, CERN is undoubtedly the best place in the world to do particle physics. There is no question about that. That attracts the best scientists, not just only from Europe, but from all around the world. Secondly, at CERN we have technologies that are procured through European industry, very, very high-tech technologies. So this upskills European industry. The final one, which is the innovation point, which I think is absolutely essential. It's what we do at places like CERN is we try and do almost the impossible. And to do the impossible, or the near impossible, you need new technologies. And those new technologies are driven by your scientific goals. We develop those, then later, maybe 20 years later, they will revolutionize another area of science. So synchrotron light sources were built based on accelerated technology for particle physics. This is why grand projets such as the FCC can have such important potential impact in the future. This is an opportunity for Europe to invest in the next phase of an institute like CERN. The investment is not just about the science, it's about the technology and the downstream spin-outs, and that will benefit Europe, benefit European technological competitiveness, and actually the attractiveness for Europe to do science.
Thank you very much. Christophe Fouquet. Is it realistic for Europe to reduce its strategic dependencies in key technologies while remaining part of global value chains? For example, like in case of different electronic components, semiconductors, and so on. Some 3 minutes to answer the question. Is it possible?
Yeah, I have to score in the additional time, right?
Yeah.
So I think, let me start by repeating what Yasmine said. Everything starts with a strong commitment in innovation, in research. If you want to be independent, if you want to have sovereignty in defense, energy, semiconductor, you have to innovate. You have to bring new ideas. In fact, ideas that may be better than what some other people will do. Because you have to innovate, but I think Christophe said it, you also have to compete. We are not living in a world where you can ignore basically what's happening around. Now, this being said, I think the example of ASML shows that if you commit to innovation, ASML is spending more than 4 billion euro in research development every year. There's more than 20,000 engineers, more than 140 nationalities joining ASML to do research development, which means that if you commit to innovation, you can also attract people to join you. And I think that's a bit the topic of today. So innovation is the start. Now, the problem is this is not enough. You need also to give those scientists, those researchers, a place to innovate. And there I think the link to the private sector is essential. So Christophe talked about this, I can only emphasize that. If you're not going to give a place for those scientists, engineers to work, to basically feel they are going to be used to the best of their ability, then you take a big risk that they leave. Now, if you create this space, you will have the opportunity, on the other hand, to attract people to come here. So I think that's very, very important. And in order to do that, you have to do a few things, I think. The first thing, we talk a lot about, the fact that we all want this to happen in Europe. But I think it's still very important for all those domains, energy, defense, aeronautics, semiconductor, which is very close to our heart in ASML, to really explain to everyone what is really our ambition, what it is that we really want to do. Not in the next 2 years, but in the next 5, in the next 10 years, because these are long-term challenges that we need to address. So that's the first thing. The second thing, we have a few champions in Europe. we have to make sure that